Welcome to This Week in Guns, a podcast that covers the commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. Brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. I'm your host, Challand from Gun Guy Radio, and you make this show possible. That's right, you simply click through our Amazon affiliate link the next time you're shopping online, and a small portion of your sale goes to supporting pro-gun shows like This Week in Guns. Well, we have an all-star panel this week. We have Ebbs, House of Guns, House of Arms. Hey, Ebbs.
Hey, Jake, how are you?
Doing great. And we have Joshua Cast, Four Guys Guns, all one word, not three words. Four Guys Guns.
Hi, Jake. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me.
First-time caller. And Peter Palma, writer for Recoil Magazine, inventor of MS Clean Kits. Hey, Peter.
Hey, what's going on?
And, great to have you guys back. Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. As you can see on my hat, if you're watching live, the Bullet Bill patches are in. You can go to patriotpatch.co. They're in stock. Ships next day.
Might I add, they're wonderful. They look absolutely clean. Excellent die cut.
Thank you.
Looks good.
Yes, I was very impressed with the die cutting on these.
You're impressed. Look at these nibbles.
And also, we have some new T-shirts. Oh.
I was trying to look for them. They weren't actually there when I looked.
So
Sorry,
you guys, on a serious matter, did you guys celebrate Back to the Future Day yesterday? Was it yesterday? Yeah.
I did, but I still have my kids, apparently.
Well, it might blow your mind, but all of the Back to the Future movies at this point took place in the past.
Well, technically, right? Because they lived a week in 2015 after they arrived on the 21st.
Oh.
Right? Because isn't that the movie plot? You have a week once you're there to...
Was it a week? Was it that
No,
long?
I don't know.
To deal with whatever they have to deal with, and... Because right,
time machine. Why would it only be a week?
That was like 3 levels of reality all weaved together, because they had 85, they had 2015, they went back to 55.
And then to 1885.
Well, that was the third one.
We had the breaking news story that Michael J. Fox was arrested for insider sports betting.
I thought that was hilarious.
That was pretty clever. I thought that was good, too.
So apparently he did take the sports almanac back with him, but...
The sports what?
Alma mater, Jake. Alma mater. That's
Alma mater for the win.
Unfortunately, it didn't work out too well for the Cubs now.
Oh, yeah.
Cubbies.
Raise your hand if you're surprised. Hank Hockey, I hope you're watching.
Into the top stories this evening. Bill has been introduced to remove suppressors from the NFA regulations. So it's the American Suppressor Association has filed the Hearing Protection Act. So a lot of people are pretty excited about this, including one on our panel. Ebbs, what do you think?
Well, I think that this needs to be an ongoing fight. Like they just need to keep pinging and like wearing down the defense. One thing that I don't like that I've seen a lot of people throwing around is the argument that all of Europe and the UK and stuff, you can buy suppressors, silencers, cans for your rifles just like you would normally go and buy a gun in a gun shop. Just like that. It's that easy. And I don't object to that. The problem is that the other side, the arguing against firearms, they're also saying, yeah, well, that would be fine if we had the type of gun laws in place that these European countries have. And so my concern for that angle is using their argument in favor of what we're trying to do, because then it's like, well, okay, we'll give you this. Can you give us a concession of some sort that you will allow us to infringe on? Let's say AR pistols should be NFA-regulated items, instead of an end around to paying your stamp and getting your SBR, or if you live in a state that doesn't allow you to have short barrel rifles, then you lose that right altogether. That would be a drag, wouldn't it? I mean, that would be a major drag, especially if there was no grandfathering in. Especially if it was immediately illegal to possess it, because we know that the ATF likes to write the law. They like to interpret and write as they go and create different nuances. I think the entire NFA, as it stands, should be abolished anyway, but I think in terms of places to start, that suppressors is probably the best place to start. If they were removed from the NFA, I mean, what does our industry look like then? Like, who else gets into suppressors? What happens to the price of suppressors?
I mean, they've already gone down since people kind of figured out that it's really just like a tube with some baffles in it that they welded. It's not like this magical. There's no moving parts or anything. So, I mean, they've already come down a ton. Like, I mean, my M4 2000 was like $1,200 when I bought it, and now they're like $600. So, I mean, that's the way. And it shouldn't even be $600, but whatever. I kind of have the same, not the same feelings, but the same vibe is that I think most like anti-gun people or like that would like stand up and freak out about it, I don't even think they're aware that suppressors are even legal. I even think some gun people, like when I say gun people, like maybe hunters or whatever, I think there's a lot of people out there who own firearms that may not even know that suppressors are legal. So to play devil's advocate, like this is kind of like could be a case of like awakening the sleeping giant, where right now there may be people who think that suppressors are illegal, but now they're like, wait, they're trying to make them like 100% legal. They're legal now, and then maybe they may even go further to make them more difficult to get, like, you know how like, or to transport along state lines or whatever. So that could be an unintended consequence of this bill.
Right. What you're saying, and I see that too. I mean, you could dance around the different possibilities all along it, and I would say of the gun people I talk to maybe even in my community, they don't know that I'm House of Guns, that they're all people that I'll see at the range or meet at Sportsman's Warehouse or one of the gun shops in town or something like that. We start talking, and I'll mention, they'll say something like, boy, that sure would be cool to be able to have a suppressor. And I'll say, yeah, I have X amount of suppressors, and we were shooting the other day, and this is the kind of results we had. And they'll go, wait, and then their response will be, wait, you have your FFL?
Yes, I always get that same.
So the assumption is that in order to possess them, you have to be a dealer or have an FFL,
SOT or whatever. Yeah.
And they don't even realize that you don't have to have a trust. You can be an individual. There's the process is a little bit more elaborate. If that's the case, but they don't realize it. People also don't realize what you're missing if you're not shooting suppressed. And there's cases to be made both ways, but it is extremely surprising once you start shooting suppressed on the regular how awesome it is, how enjoyable it is, and then it's a little bit more work too, because your firearms have to be maintained differently. All of the contamination that typically will go out the muzzle is then you have back pressure that comes back in, and so your action, especially on semi-automatics, pistols, gas-fed guns like AR-15s and stuff like that, or AR pattern guns, then it sort of changes the way that you have to learn to operate them because they become filthy so fast.
We have to get like special ones that have like piston or has an adjustment or something and tweak it. Yeah, it's not that easy. It's just but we're digressing.
So, Ebbs, I agree. This is something that we got to keep fighting. It's something that you got to keep taking the ball down the gain a few yards here and there, and that's what the American Suppressor Association has been doing. And companies like Silencer Co., they've really been pushing legislation through a lot of different states in the union, and we've seen a lot of states go suppressor legal in the last year, 2 years, 3 years. So they've moved the ball down the field considerably from where we were 5-10 years ago, and maybe now they think that they've made enough friends in Congress and in the legislature that they can maybe go for the touchdown now, or maybe this is just something to bring more awareness. I think they need to push this, or they're not quite sure that they're going to get this through in this moment in time, but they need to make this big push now to get it in front of more people, get more awareness going on. I don't know.
Well, we've shown the awareness that the anti-crowd has basically recently, especially when we started the presidential campaign nonsense and the things that people, it shouldn't be, gun manufacturers should be held accountable. There should not be such loose, there's not what it takes to build firearms and ship firearms. Nobody understands the stack of legislation that somebody has to go through in order to move product because it's been defined as a firearm or it's classed, even suppressors and stuff. Like, remember the UPS story that we covered a couple months ago on this show about UPS refuses to ship suppressors or like any NFI items, like once they found out what it was, but it's not even, essentially you're shipping an oil filter with the filter part of the inside is just stainless steel or Inconel or titanium or whatever. It's not even a functioning thing, I mean, you couldn't even pour a drink in it and drink it out because it's got holes in both sides. It's like, what exactly is this thing going to do? You could ship a 2-liter bottle of Coke that's empty with a hole in the other side too, and it would be just as dangerous. So the other side doesn't. They don't know. They haven't read the law and they don't understand it. It's like they went and watched a movie and they feel like that's reality. That's immediately because criminals find ways to get guns, then we just can't have them all together.
Well, and I think what the American Suppressor Association, companies like Silencer Co. have been doing quietly is
unintended
is looking for possible allies in Congress and taking them out and showing them what suppressors are firsthand.
Right. Which is also a good way to get people into suppressors, because every time I have mine out and somebody's around and they're surprisingly unaware, it's like a light bulb of, oh, that's something I need.
For me, it's a lot of the I just never wanted to deal with it. I have ear pro, totally fine. I'm on a square range, not doing anything serious. I'll go to a class and everyone's got ear pro, knowing maybe 1 or 2 guys are shooting suppress, which to me is funny because there's 9 to 10 to 20 other people around you not shooting suppress, so it's like, cool, just get your gun all dirty for no reason. But when you take around that whole rigmarole of filling out a form, sending a check, hoping you get approved, and then 3 to 6 to 9 months later you actually get like a yes or no, and then 6 months after that I have to know you get your check back. Like, to take that out of the equation and I could go buy a suppressor the same way I can go buy a gun, I'd probably do it with every gun, unless I had like super ubiquitous cans that went with 6 different platforms, and even then I'd probably buy 2 of those because if one goes down or you just gunk one up to the point where it's got to be clean but you still want to go shoot suppressed. So recently I've been doing a lot of stuff. Like I have this Osprey right here. I have this new Illusion from AAC, and it's a whole new world for me, and I'm excited about it. But I became an FFL 3 SOT just to transfer that stuff in and out a lot faster. I got added to a couple FFLs, so I didn't have to wait. Because I'm clearly a responsible gun owner. I run a website and I haven't killed anybody. So we've built a reputation where people kind of say, yeah, no, cool, we'll put you on our FFL, and then I have I can get a suppressor like overnighted, which is awesome because I just want to try something or do something in a photo or a video. So it's a whole new world to me, and if it's as accessible as it is for me as an FFL, then I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's just hope it works.
Yeah, one way or the other, the fear of like, let's not tell them about what they don't know is no way to be proactive, I don't think. And I agree with Peter's thought of this is a possibility, but inevitably, even if it stays on the NFA and someone realizes because what happened for me was a couple years ago, and I've been shooting my entire life. I had Whitey's mentality of I'm not going to go through that process. And then a few years ago, I built an AR pistol because I didn't want to go to the trouble of getting an SBR. And then I built the AR pistol, and I was like, this is awesome. Why would I not want to put a stock on this? So then learn the process of, okay, I can get a trust built for a reasonable cost at a viable attorney that the ATF will recognize, and then I don't have to go through my local law enforcement to get signed off every time I turn in a Form 4 to submit an application to get a suppressor or a short barrel rifle. And once you do it one time, once you do that process one time, you realize that was easy. Like, I was patient enough to wait, and I had to wait that however many months for the first one. But then after that, it's like heroin, because you learn that the wait isn't that long. You can deal with it, and if you space them out and put it a few at a time, you kind of forget about them, and then you get to start getting more and start getting more. And I say that from a personal aspect because I did the same thing Whitey was, where I'm on with a local Class 3 SOT as an employee, legitimately, but as an employee, so that I can use suppressors and test suppressors in advance. And I'm still doing it for myself because that doesn't necessarily mean I get to keep them all for forever, but I want that to be mine. And we're still, all that to say, I digress back to, Peter's concern. Somebody could find out, well, this is the only process somebody has to go through, and they could try to make it more difficult for us. Well, suppressors are an NFA item, so why not try to get them removed and start that process? Because if we can do that and we figure out how to do that, then what's to say that short barrel rifles aren't next?
That would be awesome.
That would be, if you have not owned or shot a short barrel rifle, this is not true for everything in life, but shorter is better.
I'll take your word
Unless
for it.
you're trying to shoot far. Yeah, then it's not.
So let's move on to an article in The Truth About Guns called "This is What Happens to a Disarmed Populace When They're Stabbed in Israel" edition. And I don't know if you've seen a lot of the news coming out of Israel, Jerusalem. There's been a lot of terrorist attacks, a lot of stabbings, random stabbings in the middle of the country where people are normally safer than the outskirts. And these Islamic extremists are going in there and just randomly murking people. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I follow a guy on Facebook called Double Tapper, and he posts whenever a terrorist is taken out. He posts of them.
Shut up! I need to go find that right now.
Yeah, he posted an image of the terrorists that got taken out. A lot of them are bloody in the street. But
DoubleTapper.com.
Death will find a way.
So and with all this going on, so a little backstory here. Only about 2.5% of the population in Israel can carry a firearm, and long guns can only be carried by members of the IDF, which is the Israeli Defense Forces. But with all the recent stabbing attacks going on and everything, people are they're pulling back some of the restrictions for legal carry of firearms and opening up the process to accept more applications, and they're just being overwhelmed with applications. They normally would receive about 150 license requests a day, and now they're receiving 8,000 license requests a day.
This is what the people want. We got to give it to them.
I didn't realize until I read this article that there were so few gun owners in Israel. I assumed you want everybody to be armed.
You kind of associate because they have some great manufacturers. You kind of think, they've got all kinds of good stuff over there, but that doesn't necessarily mean the civilians get to take part in that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because most everybody there is a part of the IDF at some point in time, right?
Right.
Something like that. So, I mean.
Well, remember, people need to understand the difference between Israel and Palestine here. If you're a citizen of Israel, then at the age of 18 you enlist, and that's men and women. Yeah. And then you serve a minimum of 2 years. and they're so hardcore. You know, we see the pictures online of they're carrying their issue weapon off duty, plain clothes, all the time. They're married to it. So you, in a way, create a open carry arm populist impression on the international community, even though
it's military.
It's military, right?
There was a nice quote in there that I liked. It said, "Possessing weapons increases the confidence of residents who know that in addition to police, there are people who are not afraid to intervene. If we look at the statistics in Jerusalem and elsewhere, we see that aside from police, civilians carrying weapons have foiled terror attacks. They will increase the likelihood of fast intervention." That is a quote that needs to be like on the NRA carrying card.
Well, and there was also a video, I think, earlier this week of a terrorist driving a car just in a crowd of people, and then, you know,
yeah, like backing up and going forward and like slamming into him, and then he gets out and starts running after him with a knife, and somebody comes out of nowhere and just pops the guy.
Yeah, and it was a from what I understand, it was a concealed carrier that ended up taking the guy out, but the guy, you know, shoots him. The terrorist gets back up, runs a little bit. The guy shoots him again, and then gets back up, shoots him again.
The messed up part that, like, you look at other countries and you see clips like that versus America. You know, I love this country, but what ends up happening is that for every 50, 70, 100 good guys that are out there that have done something like that, you know, you get one idiot or one bad situation that went south, and that's where the media focuses. You know, it's that old joke. You know, you build 1,000 miles of road, you build 1,000 miles of fence, but you screw one goat, and you know you only get one nickname the rest of your life.
Yeah, how do we get to screwing goats, Jake? This
sheep
show is out of hand already. God. We just started.
Lock it up, Ebbs. Lock it up.
Sorry. Thanks, Whitey.
But yeah, I really wanted to bring this up because, you know, Israel. I think for whatever reason, a lot of people in the U.S. demonize Israel, which I don't understand why. Israel is most always in the right, and Palestine and the other countries in the Middle East are in the wrong, but yet on the news and stuff it's portrayed, you know, skewed, where Israel is portrayed as being the bad guy, which is just not right.
I guess those people aren't following the IDF girls on Instagram, because I'm like, I'm on this team. I don't care, like, I'm on this team. And, like, historically, I mean, I don't know. I don't know a group of people who've been tried to wipe from the planet for longer periods of time but are still here than the Jews. It's like, okay, maybe they got something going on, because, like, everybody, I mean, if you read the Bible, which is, you know, like thousands of years old, there's people trying to wipe them from the planet, like since Genesis. Okay, here we are. Okay, now they're trying to kill us. It's like, and they're still here. Just, you know, come on, just give them a break.
Wait, there's an IDF girls account?
Yes?
No, but, well, I mean, there's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. I don't know if there's a girls account, but I follow some of them. I can't pronounce their names, but I follow them.
Okay, moving on.
They have M16s on the beach in bikinis, and they're not even being, like, ironic about it.
Well, I'll remember that next time I take a photo. Common Core gun control lesson sparks controversy. So, Peter, I'm going to throw this one to you.
Yeah. It's weird that there's even, like, so the idea behind this article is that, you know, obviously some, like, teachers union or whatever put together a pamphlet to hand out to the kids teaching, you know, about gun control, and clearly it's all swayed to the one side, and, you know, all the questions are prompted. Like, if you just handed, like, 100 kids this one, they would, like, be like, oh yeah, gun control is bad. But if you handed a bunch of them, like, maybe some, not that the NRA wrote, because their propaganda is horrible, but, like, NRA that maybe, or propaganda that maybe we all wrote, then they would agree with us. You know what I mean? So, like, it's completely biased, and it's kind of weird that, like, in a federally funded schools, that they would have something like this. That's really what gets me. It's like you're getting federal funds, but you're also like teaching. I don't know. It seems like there's a conflict of interest right there, more than anything. Obviously, I don't like it because it's distorting the view on, or, children's mind on gun control because it's not biased. It's leaning clearly, not even leaning. It's just on the one side, and then but I don't see how they could still distribute this pamphlet in schools that have any federal funding, and they pretty much said we are not gonna change it. We're gonna keep it the way it is. So
Common Core is, and I apologize for anybody who's for this. Actually, I don't apologize. I think it's ridiculous. We voted this down here in our area because it is like the systematic progression of accepting ignorance in all levels of education. The way that mathematics are taught, the way that science is taught, it's basically the progression of dumbing down these kids to make them loyal subjects. Okay, and it doesn't teach them. It doesn't teach them like the development of logic and reason to come to your answers and come to your conclusions. It's a backwards way of finding answers, and so to see something like this coming from that program, it's like, well, yeah, of course that's what's going to come from it, because this is like it's a program that breeds ignorance. Why wouldn't they teach that an inanimate object is important, and that vilifying an inanimate object is important, and if you're in the process of just creating heads that nod in a new socialist system, then this has to be part of it, I think.
It's like teaching same, but different.
To me, since it's a political thing, even though it is like completely dumbing down the system, I just don't understand why, they're not teaching like pro-abortion or pro any of the other political issues that are out there in schools. They don't just distribute pro-abortion pamphlets or whatever. So I don't see how they can even legally do this, but.
These are questions, the three specific that they're highlighting here. I think these are three questions you should expect to find in a college statistics course, in a college philosophy course, things where semi-adults can draw reasonable conclusions with reasonable life experience. When more to Ebb's point is when you throw stuff like this at tweens, at grammar school, you are literally molding in a specific direction with these questions, especially if these are graded or if the teacher disagrees with your answer, because now it's no longer a matter of opinion, it's pushing in a specific direction that is not free thinking.
Well, the pre-adolescent mind accepts taught lessons as fact. They're not going to question it. They are trusting that the person in the front of the classroom is their authority, that they can trust them, that it's somebody that they can safely look up to without fear of being misguided, proselytized, lied to, betrayed, whatever schemes you need to, or adjectives you need to use to describe a situation like that. They're one in many is going to be able to differentiate between teaching of theory and the teaching of fact. The only place where the theory part is understood is mathematics, where a theory is applied to reach an answer.
And Ebbs and I had a conversation about a similar topic just the other night, and I think the common theory, there's several of us in the conversation, but the common, I think, not even theory, the common working practice at this point when it comes to the way in which schools are moving is that parents need now more than ever to take a more proactive roll and not just say, did you do your homework and move on with it. You need to look through it. You need to see that textbook. You need to see those tests, and you need to see those test results. You need to take an active participation, because if, like Ebbs is saying, is true, and we're trusting the school system to just handle that, and we're not doing our due diligence as parents to say, well, I disagree with your teacher, and I'm going to go have a word with her because Mrs. Rottencrotch shouldn't be teaching the alphabet because she can't handle the D. That doesn't need to be the person teaching my child about the Second Amendment or the Constitution. Plain and simple. If this is the questions, then we're going to tell me my kid is wrong because he says that, yes, the Constitution is still applicable. It's being ambiguous, but everyone who follows along knows exactly what this question is saying. Are rules and guidelines that were created over 200 years ago still applicable today? Do you go to church? Well, then that supersedes that time frame, so the question's yes. So the document that our country is founded on, that you're free to teach this crap in, yes. I mean, my kid got a talk to, and then my wife came home and said, we got our first complaint about our son. So he is 5 years old, and he was talking about puberty at lunch, which is funny and adorable because he says puberty. Mm-hmm. But they were like, we don't really discuss that. It's not really age appropriate. So I went in the next day, and I said, hey, so Nathan was talking about puberty at lunch. What was that all about? Yeah, one of the kids had brought up, first is the worst, second is the best, third is the one with the hairy chest. And Nathan said, I know how you get a hairy chest. And they said, how? And he said, puberty. And so kids started asking questions. And I said, well, it's kind of a good thing for kids to answer questions. Maybe it's a little earlier than you guys wanted to deal with it. And they said, well, it's really not age appropriate. I said, cool. Did you see Big Hero 6? They said, yeah. How many kids in your class have Big Hero 6 shirts? And a lot of them. Oh, so basically they've already heard about puberty. They've already witnessed what it kind of does to a child. And we just don't want to confront that as what you're telling me. And they're like, I didn't think about that. And I said, okay, so why don't we just have a little talk with me from now on? And I'll just guide you down the path. And we'll just out of it. And they just think I'm hilarious, but in reality, I'm prepared to take all these little, we need to speak to you after school. Not a problem. Check that box. Because we have to be involved as parents, whether it's guns, whether it's gun education, whether it's Common Core, whether it's sex education. We have to be involved.
Well, and you could say that, and it's 100% correct, because how do we get to Common Core? Because we have a society that expects government to teach their children instead of parents who take on the responsibility of teaching their children. Sure, I'll send my daughter to school, but in the end, it's my responsibility to make sure she knows everything important. She's in social studies now as a fourth grader already, blowing my mind, right? But she's doing social studies, studying religions of the Middle East, I find out this week, and they're not covering everything that I'd like to hear covered.
Send her to school draped in an Israeli flag.
Realities that are creating bias, and I'm not interested in spreading hate or teaching my daughter to hate anyone, but she needs to know, and I'm happy to be the one to teach her, and I'm not gonna bust her chops if she raises her hands and tells her teacher that she left something out about a specific date in September.
Ooh.
So Common Core, teaching about guns.
Next class, we're gonna watch American Sniper.
All right, well, let's go to college now. Campus carry comes to the Eat, Cheese, or Die state, Wisconsin.
No, Wisconsin.
Eat cheese and die, more like.
Yeah. I love
so much oily dairy goodness.
So, this was kind of like an op-ed wrote on the Truth About Guns by a guy named Dean, and he kind of laid out because they have introduced legislation to allow carry on campus colleges in the state of Wisconsin now, and he laid out his undergraduate and graduate experience at the University of Wisconsin Madison in the 70s about how he was on the pistol team, rifle team, and how back then I found it interesting that he had a pistol, rifle, shotgun in his dorm room. and it was just like not a big deal. I mean, he was also an ROTC cadet, but like
it was to fight the National Guard with.
everyone like knew he had it and stuff, and yeah, not a big deal back then, apparently in Wisconsin. But
it was still not legal, though, he said.
But what was really interesting about this article is about how, back then they didn't have, Wisconsin just a couple years before Illinois passed their concealed carry permitting system. But like before then, apparently, how you could legally carry concealed in the state of Wisconsin is that you could, they called it a $1 an ear deputy program or whatever, where you could get kind of like a May issue permit where the sheriff in your area would basically deputize you, which would allow you to carry concealed.
And you would pay them to do this.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Pay a little extortion fee.
Yeah.
Right, and he described how there was a member of the women's pistol team that was a good friend of his, and she was in graduate school, and I had learned to shoot in England. I don't know if she was from England, but when she was in Wisconsin, she convinced the sheriff to give her a deputy card because she told him she was going to carry a gun for safety and that she would prefer to do it legally. So she got her card. I mean, back then, why do we need this big statewide permitting system? Just, go to the sheriff, say, oh, yeah, I know you, and you're a good guy.
It still happens here in Louisiana. Like, I think Blake has, he just went, rubbing elbows with some sheriff, and they're like, oh, here, you're a deputy, here's your card. And you're like, whoa. It's like, they just hand them out like candy. I guess it's kind of like the 70s here, too. We just now got color TV.
Jeez.
The other LA.
Interesting article. Okay, let's move on to a Salon.com article.
This is awesome.
Liberals suggest that if you want a gun, you should take a bullet.
A liberal suggested it.
Because you have to understand the pain of being shot if you want to own a gun.
So let's crash an airplane for an airline license. Let's drive a car into a tree or get hit by a car for a driver's license. What else? Cut your finger off if you want to, get a cooking or chef license. What else?
Okay, you know what though? I'll go in the opposite direction and say, sure, why not? Not however many people just grab. You're taking the trashiest pistol. You're taking the cheapest ammo, or just talking about low velocity ball ammo or something that's just intended to poke a hole and not create the most.
Where are we getting shot at?
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. I've got Peter Palma standing by as my medic, and I'll take one. I mean, if that's the case, sure, why not?
Where would we get shot? I would want to get shot in the calf.
Calf or ass, definitely.
I was going to say
more arteries in there.
I was going to say buttocks.
Not my ass.
I guess it's the angle, yeah.
You were going to say what, Ebbs?
I was going to say buttocks, like Forrest Gump.
Ass.
And get to meet the president.
Pinky.
$1 million wound.
This pinky.
The story actually is pretty interesting because the writer, listed as D. Watkins, is just coming out and saying, listen, this is so out of control. Gun control needs to happen. It needs to happen now. And he's talking about the Democratic debate, and Hillary, starts in on her gun nonsense and says 90 people a day die to gun violence. Does anybody have any idea how much that is related to suicide? Because somebody wants to end their life, and that happened here in Colorado when we went through the magazine ban, and they were working on other legislation. Was they were creating these false, inflated impressions of what I'm going to use their term. I think it's ridiculous. Gun violence. There's just violence. The gun is a tool. So if you're in an argument with someone, remember that. But related to gun violence, they were showing all gun deaths. Okay, as if the gun is a magical tool that people immediately die better.
Yeah, he said that in the article. He keeps saying guns killed these people, guns killed these people. Like
right, and knocks on Republicans, knocks on Christians. Right, you have to be a rifle-hugging Christian, it says, related to Ben Carson's statements and such. But I digress. In Colorado, when they passed it, they said this X amount of people died in 2011, because this was 2012 when all this stuff was getting pushed through, or 2013 post Sandy Hook in December 2012. They said, let's say 100 people died in Colorado due to gun violence. The percentage of it was something like 80% was related to suicide and not violent crime. And so they'll use these terms and they'll go as generic as possible as long as it fits an agenda. And that's exactly what happened here. And he's jumped it and he's run with it and suggested you have to get shot, which is that's like the taser rule, isn't it? If you're law enforcement and when you go through taser training, at the end of the training, you actually get tased yourself.
Yeah, or pepper spray.
Yeah, I was at a corn maze last week, and one of the security guys had a taser, and I asked him, I was like, "How could you do that? Would you tase me?" And he was like, "No, he was a sheriff's deputy. He was like, our department's really strict on it." I was like, "What if I shoved you a little bit?" And I poked him on his shoulder. He's like, "You don't want to do that." I kind of did though.
I mean, he wrote a book and it was, a bestseller or whatever. I mean, the article was written say he was just writing about like Kool-Aid or anything. Like, it's horribly written. Like, it's just like all over the place and there's no coherent thoughts, and it just like they're run-on sentences and. It's pretty rough. Yeah.
Well, it's barely even an article. What is it, like 300 words?
Yeah, it's just like crazy rantings. And I know what crazy rantings are because I do them all the time. Right? So and it's emotionally charged the whole time. So it's like crazy, incoherent rantings.
It's your wheelhouse.
Yeah. And it still doesn't make any sense. And that's like my forte. So I don't even know where he's going with that.
All right, I should have put this up with the NFA suppressor talk, but Maine, in this great state of Maine, suppressor hunting is now legal.
What?
Ooh, yeah.
So golf clap there for the...
Yeah, Maine and New Hampshire recently as well.
Live free or die.
Good on them. 75-year-old vet saved 16 kids from knife attack.
Like a boss.
Yeah, he was crazy.
So he's recovering after putting himself between 16 terrified children and a knife-wielding teen determined to kill.
19-year-old.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really count.
A public library. Army vet, name is Vernon, 75, retired Caterpillar technology worker. He's recovering from surgery right now. But he was leading a chess club meeting, and that's when Dustin Brown, 19, burst into the room holding a knife in each hand and threatening the children.
He knocked them down onto his knife and then was like, checkmate.
Then took a pretty beastly cut and beat the crap out of this kid. I like seeing old timers knock freaking punks on their ass.
Yeah, good on them.
I think, if you're 75, that was like, you were growing up in the late 40s and the 50s, where, you could just, fight in school, just bam, bam, people were just, where if you said something in school, you can just, have at it, where, even towards, when I, was in the military, and that was kind of going away, and I was 25, 26, 27, all that, and then kids would come right out of high school and they would say stuff, and you just knew that they went to some high school some nice high school somewhere where you just talk and there was never any fighting, and then you would hit them and they would look at you like a penis just grew out of your head. Like, you just hit me. I got one dude was like, what? Just hit me. And I was like, wham! I hit him, and he just like fell onto his ground like bleeding, and it was like, you hit me. I'm like, yeah, that's what you do when you say stuff like that. So we're fighting, right? And so this probably what happened. Like, I bet you that kid had no idea that this old dude was just gonna go tit to tat with him. That's why a 75-year-old could beat up a 19-year-old with 2 knives. He did get cut, but still.
Was that tit to tat?
Tit for tat.
Oh, tit for tat.
What did I say? Tit to tat?
All right, moving on.
Like
Detroit attacker during service, armed in the pulpit, gaining support among black pastors. What do you guys think of this article?
I was like, oh, that's cool. He like fought like a brick wielding attacker, blah, blah, but then like turns out he was sleeping with the dude's wife. It's not very pastorly.
Apparently, because the third headline here says love triangle involving pastor leads to shooting during Sunday services.
Exactly. So there's no winners here.
No one wants to kind of admit it, I think, but as we're seeing more and more kind of Christian-based attacks, so to speak, and there's already been stuff documented in the United States, even that school shooting. I don't see a problem with this. I think that it's good for, and I was raised in both the synagogue and the church, so it's really interesting for me to see so many people in such a confined space, shoulder to shoulder, quietly, especially in the Roman Catholic Church, quietly sitting there, kneeling, sitting, kneeling. It's literally the worst gun-free zone out there, and they're not actual gun-free zones. So, I mean, the one guy facing the door, protect the flock, all that fun stuff, I mean, it makes sense to me. And the fact that, black pastors are getting behind it, cool, rock on. Arm them all, I don't care.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna be worried about.
Safety warning, safety. Let me try that again. Safety warning. Worn out leather holsters can cause accidental discharges. So this was from a story that from a slightly overweight guy that got done eating breakfast and got back in his car, sat down, and bang! His Glock 19 discharged, blowing a 9mm hole through his pants, underwear, and leather seat of the car. And apparently the leather holster had worn so much that it creased and worked its way into the trigger guard.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's Kydex, so come on. Like,
leather's comfortable, man.
Well, you could get the one on the one side or a combo holster or whatever, and this holster is retarded. But anyway, yeah, and he was like, the real problem is he's letting his wife drive. Like, what kind of maybe if he was driving himself, it wouldn't happen. Because he went onto this side, and that's where a seatbelt was. It was on his side. He should be driving.
Well, first of all, he's using a generic, like, this size fits all Galco holster.
Yes.
It's not. This is not a fitted, pressed, molded, something that's going to keep its structure. And I get affordability, and I used a Galco for a long time too. But it looked like, and there are pictures. This is an ITS tactical article. There are pictures too, so you can actually see. I mean, the guy got lucky that didn't go straight through his rear, or like into his femur or his artery or something like that. But he didn't have it holstered well, it looks like.
Yeah.
It would be my assumption that he put the holster on and then tried to put the gun in, which if you have a holster that doesn't hold its shape on its own anyway, then reholstering can be a real bear, even if you're just trying to slide it in for the first time of the day. So he was not very aware of the trigger and the fact that it was both uncovered and that part of that leather holster had tucked inside of the trigger guard, so that when he sat down, of course, when it gets pushed back into the seat, or the butt of the pistol gets pushed down by the seat, it probably went off immediately. I mean, I doubt they were riding for a while. It just looks like He just sat right down and it went off.
Yeah, like you should inspect your gear. Come on. I mean, that did not happen in one day. Look at the pictures. This is sitting like, all of a sudden, this thing folded up like.
I mean, that's a well-used holster. I mean, you could tell, the sweat stains, the smooth parts, and I give kudos to the guy for carrying so often, or maybe he doesn't carry often at all. Actually, maybe he's just had the holster for 20 years or something. But
I don't know. Is it just me, or when you do inside the waistband stuff, I always put the gun in the holster before it even goes in my pants. That's for
yes.
That's for strong side as well as appendix carry. I put gun in first, and that, like Peter said, check your gear. That would have been plainly visible.
Man, this looks like it goes through the belt. So yeah, huh?
All right. Well, as always, we have way too many stories to cover this week. Check the show notes at thisweekinguns.com/139 for the rest of the stories. You can contribute to the Firearms Radio Network and This Week in Guns by shopping our Amazon affiliate link. Just go to our website, click the Amazon affiliate banners, or you can also bookmark firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. We're to the full auto news segment, stories the real media won't talk about, and other crazy stuff. This is where each of the hosts picks a story to call their own. Who's first?
I got it.
Go.
I hope you don't take mine.
So it's the first on the list. Rock Hill woman accused of assaulting girlfriend with folding table.
This is my second choice, so I'm glad.
So you know why this is? I'm gonna get into the story in a second, but I gotta tell you why I chose this and why it's so funny. So we're driving to SHOT Show last year, me and a couple of the guys, and a very colorful character we all know, but I'm gonna leave his name out of it. And out of nowhere, we're just all yelling at each other and trying to talk over each other, and this colorful character just blurts out, "Bitch, you ever been hit with a nightstand?" That assembly of words had never really crossed my mind, and I thought it was freaking hilarious. So then you see Rock Hill woman accused of assaulting girlfriend with folding table. Well, I have already forwarded the link on to him because I think it's hilarious. Basically, 8:15 p.m. Wednesday at a home in Beckham Lane, Rock Hill police report states that a large wound on her head that was, and it's in quotes, bleeding profusely. Like it might have been, it might not have been. Head wounds always gush, which is amazing. So basically, she and her girlfriend got into an argument that escalated to a physical altercation in the living room. After hitting the victim in the head with a hard object, police say the suspect called an ambulance and then left. Officers determined the weapon used was a gray folding table in the living room that had blood spatter on the front of it. The victim was taken by... Can you just imagine?
Yeah.
You walk in the house and be like, what did it... Oh, look at that table.
I can only picture her like from the top rope of a wrestling squared circle, just like with the...
John Cena!
She ran out of the dressing room with it.
All right, Peter, what do you have?
All right, this is the... It took me a second or two to figure out what was going on here. Cops, teen who lost tongue in sexual assault charged as adult. So I'm thinking like, somebody, like, what's happening here? Right, so like a tongue was like, I didn't even really see what was going on. So this dude, Antoine Miller, goes to attack this 33-year-old woman, pretty much goes in, like knocks in her house like 6:30 a.m. and then forces his way into the home and then tries to like, pretty much is attacking her and then tries to rape her. And she kicks him in the groin, and then a fight ensues. And he's like, "Now I'm going to kill you," and sticks his tongue down her mouth. To which then, hold on, I have to read this sentence because it's insane. Now, the victim said the suspect told her to, "Now you have to die," and force his tongue in her mouth. The victim told officers when the suspect put his tongue in her mouth, she, quote, "bit his tongue as hard as she could until she heard it snap," unquote. Now, this is, according to the victim, the suspect then got off the bed. All right, so they're on a bed. This happened. The victim said she had the tongue in the suspect's tongue in her mouth and threw it on the kitchen floor. So, okay, she's on a bed somewhere, presumably in a bedroom, and then spits it out onto the kitchen floor. Like she like ran away with his tongue in her mouth, and then he got caught because his mother called him 911 due to the fact her son, quote, not having a tongue and needing medical assistance, unquote. That's pretty rough. So they put it in a bag of ice, but I would have put it in the blender in front of him. That's my favorite story of all week.
It's pretty good. Okay, Abs, what do you have?
All right, so I have the one where it says feds charge 8 in California with distributing homemade guns. So basically what's been done here is a bunch of guys, one guy really in particular was kind of the machinist for the group. They had a bunch of like 70-some or 230 firearms and silencers total. They're called ghost guns. These are the 80%ers, and they were built and assembled into SBRs, and then they used looks like the flashlight recipes like off of YouTube and stuff to create suppressors, and then sold them, but they sold them to undercover agents at, wait for it, the Yolo County Airport. YOLO.
You'll live once in jail.
So here's one of the quotes, though. This is interesting because this is the ATF and this is the way that they think, and this is 100% not true. That the manufacture of untraceable and serialized firearms hampers criminal investigations, putting the public at greater risk, U.S. Attorney Benjamin Wagner said at a news conference. High-capacity assault rifles, remember, these are single or semi-auto, these are not select fire, they're not assault rifles, with silencers, but without serial numbers, are some of the most lethal weapons that criminals can get their hands on.
I'm glad they caught these people. This is crazy.
Show me a case where a criminal has used a AR with a silencer on it.
Well, that was another one of my kind of like fears, in that if you open up like, I don't want to say it. I think like this is what we talked about the silencer stuff earlier on, and people were like, well, I just didn't want to wait. Well, I'm like, well, did you want a silencer a year ago? Yeah. Well, then you would have no one now, you retard. You know what I mean? It's like, geez, it's like if you just did it then, you would have it now. And so, like, I think it kind of keeps some stupid people from buying silencers. And so, like, if they are, like, just like, here you go, and people do start killing each other with silencers, then they're really going to try to take it out. I'm just happy now that I can buy them, and I wait them a couple months. It's not that bad. I'm not that impatient. Just wait a couple months, and it shows up on my. I get it.
I know what you're saying, Peter. You just don't want the guys you see walking through the gun show to just...
Yeah, I don't want them to pick it up and say this. Oh, I can shoot down a police helicopter with this. I'm like, oh, God. Like, I literally, at this point in time in my life, cannot even go into a gun show. Like, I can't, like, it makes me physically nauseous to walk around a gun show and hear stuff people say. Like, I just can't do it. And
I hear you. Okay.
Let it all out, Peter.
They pick up a shotgun that has a ventilated handguard. Like, whoa, I could shoot down a police helicopter with this. Oh, my God, dude, you're killing me.
All right, I guess I'll take the ZombieCon shooting. 501 killed in shooting at ZombieCon in Fort Myers, Florida.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, there was more than 20,000 people, a vast majority of those dressed like zombies, gathered at the downtown area for the annual event, which is said to be the largest gathering of zombies and their fans in the state of Florida. But, yeah, apparently, I don't know, someone watched Dawn of the Dead and fell asleep and woke up and looked outside and was like, oh, my God.
It's going down.
It's happening now.
Yeah, I wonder if it's related to that, or if it had if they were just coincidental happened, like some other way, like maybe somebody didn't like the guy, or who knows. But I wonder if it was related to somebody thinking, oh, I don't like this, or or whatever, or if it's just unrelated and they just happen to be at like this festival.
Maybe there were zombies mugging people.
I mean, if there were 20,000 people in attendance and only 6 got shot, I feel like that's pretty good. I mean, you're kind of taking your life in your own hands. I mean, how many people? There's a lot of people that watch The Walking Dead now.
How did he get stopped?
He didn't. He just shot and left. They didn't find him.
Oh,
He's out there right now. The guy. He's wandering the streets.
But because it's zombies, no one's calling for a mass shooting.
Well, one of the things which was kind of neat is like they obviously somebody's shooting and then they panicked and ran, which like it's horrible that somebody died, but man, that must have been a sight to see. Like 100, it would be like a real life zombie where there's like thousands of zombies running frantically. It would be like kind of like crazy like that. Probably the only time it actually really happened.
All willy-nilly.
Yeah, all just like, and then they said the police, which makes sense. Well, it's hard to tell whether like who was actually injured and who was just dressed like a zombie. It was like everybody's covered in blood and running around. Like, how confusing is that?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this doesn't continue on, because then it'll ban zombie conventions.
All right. Do we need to nail any of these other stories? Quite a few this week.
We're just selling weapons to terrorists again. I mean, other than that, it's the same old stuff. Nothing changes. That's notable. The U.S. is being nefarious.
Nefarious.
Fantastic word, though.
Really is a solid vocab word.
There was a pretty good story about a little boy at a college football game that he was on the sidelines, where the football players were, and he saw the state troopers, and so he ignored all the football players and went up to the state troopers to get autographs from the police there. So it was pretty cool.
Mm.
No?
That would have been me. I like completely uninterested in football my entire life. I'm like, show me can I shoot your gun? Have you ever killed anybody? Little kids ask you that all the time.
If everyone wants to go fired up beforehand, we can go over the replacer that the professor thinks replacing whites will kill gun rights.
Yeah. That means we just have to breed with immigrants and then and make their children and indoctrinate them.
Oh no, there's polls and the growing rise of Latinos and not fast enough growth of the blacks and yada yada yada, and that the only reason why we have guns and not gun control is because middle-aged, rural, white males. So if we just get rid of them, then we'll have lots of gun control.
Get rid of all the rednecks.
Well, he does say that, and you know what? He really said that the NRA would collapse. And at the rate they're going, they will, because they called me at 5:30 in the morning, saying there's an emergency. I'm like, what emergency? Oh, Obama's trying to take your guns. I'm like, it's like 5:30 in the morning right now, right? Like, you're calling me from an unknown number on my cell phone. Like, no wonder.
Obama rolls in at 3:30 a.m., not 5:30. And he's not telling you first.
Yeah.
Patriot Patch Company makes this episode possible. We have the patriotic 4-pack of patches. Pre-order currently up, where you can get your hand on these. patriotpatch.co, and also check out the diversity t-shirts. Well, that about wraps us up. So, Josh, 4 Guys Guns, what's going on?
I've been doing a lot of traveling lately. We've been doing a lot more photo and video work for others, which is cool. But at the same time, it also takes us away from what everyone knows and loves, the free stuff, which is reviews. So we're trying to get back on track with reviews, looking for a video editor, and so that way we can just kind of go and shoot, and somebody else can handle that while I keep on the social media and the photography and video stuff for others. Other than that, just had a great shoot out in Colorado. Mr. Ebbinghaus, House of Guns, was also an extra in some of these photos. Patent Media Consulting was there to help out with some of the video work. And we had our buddy Clint and Ari Factor was there, and just an all in all, Adam Peany was there. A whole bunch of great dudes in one spot, and it was really an epic weekend. And the photos don't even do it justice. So great time. It's never hard work when you're working with friends, and yeah, I'm still paying the price from over 2,000 captures over a 48-hour period that we're sorting through, but so many money shots.
I see Ebbs is going to start his male modeling career now.
Well, some of the shots he was in are unusual because the person that was assaulting him in these pictures was laughing because he was so believable. And
yeah, I am really good at projecting terror.
So this SF dude is holding Ebbs over a chasm in this old factory. It's clearly, you can see, like, down 2 stories, broken concrete, and Ebbs legit, this is the creepy part, we found a noose hanging 5 feet from where we were doing this shoot. And so maybe there was a noose involved. So, they're doing the pose, I'm guiding him with the camera and telling him where I want him to be, and our buddy Clint says, just let out a terrified scream. So Ebbs starts getting into it. So now all you can see is, like, over the SF dude's ear, but you see, like, that cheekbone, like, up, and you can see him, like, laughing his balls off at Ebbs. And yeah, we'll see if I can use a little smoothing tool or something and clean that up. But Ebbs was very convincing, at least to the camera, but it was really interesting.
Maybe he's like, maybe it's like an evil, creepy smile or something. Like, haha, I'm gonna, no? Like a villain in a smile.
No, it's
a villain
definitely
in cry multicam with American flags all over him. I don't know if that's going to fly well.
Definitely a ginger smile. It's, yeah.
Very cool. Peter, what's going on?
I am single-handedly packaging up like 800 word levels and mailing them out and stuff, and I'm waiting for the rest of the fight soap to come in so I can mail that out. Those people are insane. I think they put cocaine in fight soap or something like that because these people are like, the fight soap is here? Is the fight soap yet? Is the fight soap yet? Hey, do you have fight soap? Is the fight soap done yet? I'm like, whoa, dude. Like, you're just going to put it on your shelf with the other 500 fight soaps you have. Just be patient. You know what I mean? It'll get to you, all right?
We sold out in 2 hours when we put it up on 4guysguns.
It's insane. I'm like, I literally had a text about Pond. Do you put cocaine in fight soap? Because these people are insane. I mean, it's like drug seeking. If you have ever had to deal with a drug addict in your family, or like a child that's addicted to video games or something like that, like tunnel vision, like it is drug seeking behavior that I'm dealing with the fight soap people, and I'm like, just chill. It's crazy. I feel like they're heroin addicts. But anyway, as soon as that comes, I'm going to mail it off.
Very cool. Yeah, I got the MS Clean Double that I pre-ordered. Very, very cool design. And are you shipping little free morale patches with all of them, or just mine?
Shut up. Just yours.
Oh.
Thanks for Jake.
I'm so
Jesus.
So unsmooth.
You don't have any idea how much trouble you made with that stripper pole comment that one time. That, like, I still have to deal with that for the rest of my life. Man. Anyway.
Ebbs, House of Guns, what's going on?
Well, as Whitey said, we had a great weekend out here with some good people. Had some fun doing that, and got some more suppressor action coming up. Finished the 9mm AR build. It has proved reliable and stupid quiet, but it is currently an AR pistol, which is stupid. As soon as I can anchor it to my shoulder, it's going to be like 10 times better. But I just got a new rail in from Odin Works, and I have another silencer coming from Liberty Cans. They're announcing a new multi-caliber can shortly, and so I should have that in hand very, very soon, and looking forward to kind of adding that to the mix. So getting ready to do a little bit of hunting next weekend, so I'm going to be hunting elk with a 460 Smith & Wesson rifle. So it's kind of cool. 460 is a heavy-duty Magnum handgun round. It's not as big a diameter as a 500 Smith & Wesson, but it's actually a little bit faster, carries a little bit more energy, and so it gets about, in a 20-inch barrel, it gets about 2,400 feet a second for a 200-grain bullet. So hoping to test that on an elk shoulder here in a couple weeks. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Looking forward to getting some meat in the freezer and of the best kind, by the way. God love you, PETA, but I'm gonna eat all of the elk. And yeah, so good stuff. Still have the site hack. Working on a mutual friend who's a WordPress developer. He just sent me a text a couple days ago, and he said still working on identifying the hack on your site. ... It's a good one.
When you find out who it is, can you give me their number? Because I need some sites hacked.
No, it's the reverse of that, Palma.
What do you mean?
I mean,
your site was hacked by somebody, right?
Yeah, it's getting unhacked.
Well, when you find out who hacked it, I want their number because I want to destroy some other sites.
I don't know that there's a way to. It was some Chinese kid at a cafe in Beijing, man.
What have you done to him?
Nothing yet. But, yeah.
All right.
So.
Well, that about wraps us up. You can leave your feedback by commenting on the bottom of this YouTube video or at thisweekinguns.com/139. Leave us your review on iTunes, and don't forget to contribute to the show by shopping the Amazon affiliate link. Well, thank you, Josh. This just in, Josh.
One last second, I forgot to mention, we for those who have followed Four Guys Guns for a long time, you may remember the last time we had a massive giveaway. We are doing, essentially, getting the band back together, one last massive giveaway. We're talking at least 3 rifles, proof barrels, trip to California, sniper school, a sub-half-minute rifle, lots of accessories, U.S. Optics scopes, Alamo 4-star mounts, Geissele trigger kits and rails. This is going to be the one to be all and end all, and I'm swearing off of giveaways with Four Guys Guns because it's just more stress than it's worth. But one last hurrah, and that will be debuting in the beginning of November. So follow us at Four Guys Guns on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and Periscope.
Very cool.
Snapchat too.
I can't win, can I?
Why not? You're not going to play.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Josh.
Hey, Jake. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Peter.
Woo!
And thank you, Abs.
You're welcome.
And that's a wrap. We'll see you next week.